Sway in the morning, Shade 45. Adam, get these supplies going and keep them going, man. We have a very special individual with an extremely powerful voice and a tremendous story joining us right now, Heather B. He's an entrepreneur. He's an investor, American businessman, philanthropist, best-selling author, named as one of the most influential black men in America, men of influence by the National Urban League. Featured as Black Voices Making Black History Past, Present, and Future Business. Recognized as a living legend who's who in Black Las Vegas. Named one of BET's 12 famous entrepreneurs. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's my great pleasure and honor to have him on the show with us today. And I think what he has to say will be extremely helpful. The one and only Mr. Farrah Gray is with us today. Big round of applause again, man. How you doing, sir?
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you for having me and having me on with the Queens as well. And looking forward to us jumping right into this.
Let's jump right into it, man. First and foremost, you're a best-selling author. Get Real, Get Rich. The Truth Shall Make You Rich. You've done so much work. When you read about your story, one of the most fascinating things I found was your entrepreneurial spirit that you had since a tender age of 6 years of age when you first started thinking about making money. If I'm correct, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Well, first, I want to thank everybody who's tuned in and all the supporters. Much love. Just hit almost 5 million followers now on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and now 2 million books sold and downloaded worldwide.
Okay.
And truly thankful for that, because I believe that we should all be ashamed to die unless we made a contribution to society. So to me, it's always been about giving back. And a special shout out, I've discovered that when God wanted, wet, he created water. When God wanted children, he created Adam and Eve. When God wanted light, he created the sun, the moon, and the stars. But when he wanted brilliance, beauty, foresight, intellect, and leadership, he, of course, made Kelly Kincaid your executive producer. Shout out to her.
Wow. I didn't see that coming, but I love it.
Oh, that was great. Yes, he did. That. He said, let there be Kelly.
Yes. So, yes, sir, I started at an early age. Many people are familiar with the fact that my story, my mother left my father, Khalid Muhammad, who was a black leader and activist. May his soul rest in peace and in power. And when my mother left my father, she was like, listen, activism doesn't pay the bills. You're dedicated to the love of the people, and I've got to feed these kids. And she struck out working several jobs, three jobs. When I woke up, she was up. When I went to sleep, she was up. So unfortunately, she ended up having 2 back-to-back heart attacks. And I was basically 6 years old, and I got up one morning, and I said, you know what, I got to help my mom. She survived these heart attacks. So I went out and I started basically selling what people jokingly say rocks. I did sell rocks, but they were actual regular rocks that I painted and sold them as bookends, paperweights, and door stoppers. So I started working and hustling, at an early age, and learning that the same knowledge it would take me buy wholesale, sell retail, that I could take that same knowledge growing up on the south side of Chicago, Robert Taylor Projects, a lot of people in my community, they were selling the wrong kind of rocks. So I decided to kind of flip that narrative and prepare a brighter future for myself and hopefully inspire others. So that was the beginning to ultimately becoming a millionaire by 14.
So when you say you were a millionaire by 14, were your assets worth $1 million, or did you have $1 million in the bank? And how did that happen?
Yes, sir. So what I did was I actually had $2 million companies. I had a company called NE2W, which was a student venture capital fund. And I actually raised for my fund about $1 million and opened up an office on Wall Street. Then I did over $1.5 million in sales with a food company, and then I was able to flip that and actually sell it and get cash out of it, which actually made me at that point a millionaire at the age of 14. Yes, sir. So that's kind of how that started as it relates to, I believe, finding, your area of excellence, which I think is crucial.
So the steps I would love to hear about is because that's a beautiful story. You went to food. You went from selling rocks to selling food, and then creating an investment group to become a millionaire. What were the fundamentals though that you had to learn? Because it's a lot of trial and error to become a millionaire. What were some of the things in terms of incorporation, or how did you hire? Who did you hire? Supply and demand. How were you learning those things at a young age?
Yes, sir. Great question. Well, the interesting thing about the times that we're in right now and the times that I grew up in, the times that our people have been facing for over 400 years, and then, of course, up from slavery, we have been unemployed. We have had to beg the oppressor for really what we could do for ourselves: jobs, justice, equality. So being, according to statistics, I'm supposed to either be in prison or dead. Same thing for you, Brother Sway, as well. So I find that when we create our own jobs, it's innovation, and that's what we have to do right now. I got attacked just recently. People were upset because I've been pushing the line of, yes, this is a time for us to, relax, and this is an extended vacation. However, this is a crisis, and we are our best under pressure, considering we are the children of our ancestors who have taken the greatest fall of all time, and we bounce back every day. We are a resilient people. So as far as us being unemployed, we ain't had no jobs. I mean, you look at Detroit before the quote-unquote recession, our unemployment rate was already at 30%. You go to one of our 50-plus African nations, the 27 Caribbean islands that we have, you look at the fact that they create their own jobs. They don't have Fortune 500 corporations to hire them. So I think it's about really utilizing, this crisis, because I felt like I was in a crisis, and necessity is the mother of invention. So I think it's, this is a time for incubation and innovation and being creative. We got to feed our families. So the essential lessons that I applied to my success was really finding what God put me here to do. I always say that the two most important times in anybody's life is when we were born and when we find out why we were born. So I think it's a matter of finding what God put you here to do. I think that's the key to success and going on and multiplying that gift and spreading it around the world.
We have Farrah Gray on the line with us. Can you give out your social, so if people want to follow you on your social media platforms, how can they reach you?
Yes, sir. Farrah Gray everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's Farrah, Gray, Gray. Farrah Gray.
Your father, Khalid Muhammad, was a powerful voice in hip hop music.
Yes,
I got to know your father through Public Enemy.
Yes, sir. Have you forgotten?
Yeah, I'm about to play that song,
yes,
too. And Ice Cube and MC Ren and all of these places that people posted his voice.
Well, and Tupac just recently. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that tutelage, when I was younger, I used to visit the bakery in North Oakland with a Dr. Yusuf Bey, who was also a member of
yes, sir.
You're familiar, so I'm also a member of the nation. But what I walked away any time that I would go into these meetings, I would walk away feeling like Superman. And I felt like, okay, I got the vision now. I can see through the matrix, understand what's coming my way. And by doing so, I know what's in their hand. I know how to play it. And that confidence, I think, would play the crucial role in the success I've had over the decades. Can you talk about how important is it that we instill that kind of confidence in our young men to believe that at 6 years of age or at 14 years of age, you even have the gall to believe that you could have proprietorship and be an owner? And why is that important, especially in the black community?
Yes, sir. Powerful question. Our entire lives, we have the black man, the black woman. We've had our entire lives to study European success, his story and her story, never our story. Therefore, what it does to our subconscious mind is it makes us feel inferior when we are taught to believe that everything outside of us is more powerful. If you look at many of us when we go into very, very expensive restaurants, Our posture changes. We're almost at a whisper level because we don't feel confident when we look at the prices. We don't feel confident as it relates to what is possible. And then we feed that negativity to one another as it relates to the negative language that we give off and that we spread. For example, I had a teacher one time tell me, I was 6 years old. I told her I was going to be, she was used to people saying what they wanted to, kids saying what they wanted to be. And I told her I was going to be a millionaire entrepreneur. And she looked at me and she said, no, you're not. She said, you're poor and your family's poor. You better go find somebody to work for. And she pointed towards McDonald's. And that's when I learned to never allow anyone's perception of me to become my reality. So it is so important because Black youth only grow up to be what we can see. Mm-hmm. So brothers like yourself, Sway, and the queens that we have on the show, our images are so relevant and representation matters because our brand breaks down those walls so they can say, wait a minute, I can be such and such. I can do. And I have so many, even to this day, young brothers and sisters that will shake my hand, of course, before social distancing and say, I've never seen success in my color before up close and personal. So representation matters. And my father always believed in, he believed that we, being the mother and father of science and mathematics and morality, when we are able to teach Black youth that, I didn't get to see my father a lot, but I got to see him a few times a year. But every time there was a book as it related to Black history. Those were the first lessons, that he would teach me. The 7 principles of Kwanzaa. He taught me about Nat Turner. He taught me about Denmark Vesey. He taught me about Frederick Douglass. He taught me about Malcolm X. Marcus. The list went on. What does that do? I think for the young Black mind, it allows us to develop that confidence. So when we're told that our grades are low and we're testing lower than everyone else, I think because we're approaching math with an inferior mentality versus approaching it with the spirit of Imhotep, and approaching it in the spirit of those who came before us, knowing that we were the ones that taught all of this to society. It's a level of confidence I think that's necessary.
Our brother Farrah Gray is on the line with us right now. We're going to open up the phone lines to 888-742-3345. Thank you for these words. Tracy, you wanted to jump in?
Yes, I absolutely do. I'm loving this conversation. I also very much understand entrepreneurship is so important in developing a new foundation for Black people, for sure. I also think about how not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but some people may feel shamed in being anything other than the boss, so to say. And I also think about how every community has their own ecosystem. And if you are the founder of a company, if you are at the top of the food chain, so to say, you are going to need to hire people to work for you, with you. But how can we empower those people in that position so that they do want to work for you versus just saying, I don't want to work for anyone? Because how do we have people work for us if we're also pushing this narrative of you shouldn't work for anyone?
Absolutely. That's a good question. I call it the fact that really you're not the CEO. Many times we're the OOO, the only operating officer. So I don't care if you work a job. You are still the CEO of you, your corporation, who you are, your gifts, your talents. You're still receiving financial remuneration and trading dollars for hours. So I think we are all entrepreneurs, and at the same time, we all work for somebody. We can all get fired by our clients. So even if it's an administrative task, it is better to be hired as an independent contractor. There are over 475 plus tax deductions for being a home-based business. So just the proper filing and benefits that corporations, and we even see it with the recent bailout, though we get a little funky $1,200, but the bailout has always been, and this country has always favored corporations. So I believe that it's important to be an entrepreneur as it relates to, even if you are an independent contractor, you are still able to benefit from tax deductions. For example, every day you got to end up driving to work. You can actually deduct those things as it relates to your gas, as it relates to your vehicle. You can actually hire your children to work for you and pay them living in your house and write that off. So there's so many benefits. So I think that we all still work for everyone. I don't care if you clean floors. I don't care if you're the secretary, the chief cook, bottle washer, whatever it is that you do, you are still the CEO of your talent. And I think that's the key, not necessarily starting a business or this major corporation. Like I said, it goes back to being the OOO. You might be the only operating officer. So I still think we work for ourselves, and we can still get fired. And we see it every day by our clients. We still work for them at the same time.
Word. Thank you.
Man, I'm going to open up these phone lines if you have any questions, because right now it's an even playing field for a lot of folks. A lot of resources and opportunities have been shut down, but a lot of new doors are opening up. A lot of new energy is out here. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to transform that energy in this time period? 888-742-3345. Let's take them back into time. Sway in the morning. Sway in the morning. Base. We have Farrah Gray, investor, businessman, philanthropist, best-selling author. Come on, scholar, all-around great guy, thinking man. Listen, the lines are lit up. I want to ask you, I grew up being taught by Public Enemy, being taught by Poor Righteous Teachers, X-Clan, NWA, Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One. All of these different folks, and the messaging, there was always a balance of messaging. For every empowered song you hear, you would hear something that would reduce your power. In your opinion, what role has the messaging in hip hop over the years benefited us in the community, and in what ways has it been a detriment, in your opinion, if at all? What are your thoughts on the music?
Well, of course, there's the difference between hip-hop and rap music. Of course, you've, always taught, hip-hop is the culture. And rap music has become, based on, profit, how fun it sounds. However, I think that the main key to rap music, whether it's hip-hop or rap, R&B, whether you're an actor, whatever it is that you do, celebrity of any kind, anytime you have a platform, I do think in the midst of all that you say and do, you still have to speak truth to power. And we can't see you just when you have a new album. We want to see some activism in your music, some activism as it relates to your life's calling. I don't care if you're a school teacher. I believe that you need to be a revolutionary, because our people, have fought, died, and killed for us to be where we are today. So I think we have to pay it forward through utilizing our work and our gifts to represent the culture in the most powerful way. I think that's the key. So hip-hop music has definitely dominated. Shout out to our brother, D-Nice, and all the rap battles. I mean, we have literally taken over social media with Black excellence. Shout out to Erica Ford and what she did with Def Comedy Jam last night, and raising funds and bringing the world together. So really, urban culture and hip-hop culture has always been at the forefront, and it really has its finger on the pulse of our culture. So I think that, again, as long as we take a pause for the cause in between the fun, that our people will wake up and a revolution could take place overnight if we just drop a seed here or two or three. I had this conversation with Kanye West a long time ago. King Magazine, I want to say it was like 2005 or 2006, they did the top 25 kings, the royal fraternity. So it was Kanye, Common, it was a number of people, myself, and it was just like 25 of us that came together, and we all kind of gave our perspective on, the industry, the culture. I think Terrence Howard was in it. So they pulled people from different genres, and I remember saying to Brother Kanye that it is important for us to always, now he's gone in a completely different direction, but I was saying to him that even as simple as his Jesus Walks video, I said, what do you think the young brother, sister who sees no hope, how do you think they would feel if they saw that Jesus actually looked like them and it was described as such in the Bible? How do you think if you had just put a black Jesus in your video? So I think it's just, if you just do a little bit here or there, I think it's so important to speak that truth to power and to use our platform to enlighten and educate our people.
that was part of the reason why he made that music, right? That song. How did he respond to what you said?
At that time, he said, "Oh, brother, I'm an entertainer. It's motivational brothers like yourself. That's more or less your job." And I said, "No, brother, your microphone and platform is much louder and much higher than mine. I still think it's all right to drop here or there at least something that will uplift and raise the consciousness of the people." And he said, that's interesting. And then we went on to another subject matter.
Okay. Bizzle, you want to say hello?
Yeah. Thank you so much for everything that you're talking about today and providing us with the information. I know initially when we started the conversation, you spoke a lot about purpose and understanding your purpose and getting into agreement essentially with God about what that is. Do you find yourself sometimes maybe in a struggle in terms of business and being successful in business and then your faith being on the line as well? How do you balance the two?
Powerful question. Paul said it best that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen. So most people really don't think of the fact that I think faith is really the fuel in our vehicle towards our success. There are days where all of us, I think, doubt ourselves, don't believe in ourselves, and we have those down moments. And then that part is when the faith meets even the people that are around us are so important. Chuck D said it best. If you can't change the people around you, then change the people around you. And then furthermore, I find that some people are so negative around us. Some people are so negative that they can walk into a dark room and develop. Okay, maybe some of the listeners didn't catch that one. Some people are so negative that they can walk into a dark room and develop. So we've got to rid ourselves of negative people, because when we're in those down moments that we all have in the moment, in the quiet time, in our fearful moments. And that's another quick message. If I can just quickly segue, I want to say that, I pray that our people at this point in time, you're not worrying and you're not, freaking out, because you can't do anything with worry and with doubt. I know that we're hearing stories. I'm hearing them too. I've got family members now that have taken COVID tests. I have friends that have lost their lives to what's going on. But we have to understand that when we were born, I think every life, regardless of the crisis, has an expiration date. And I think that it's separate aside from COVID-19. And it had to be, I believe, our time to go, because God is still on the throne. I do believe in self, we can make our own choices. However, I think that this is a time to really remain focused on our gifts, on our talents, and like you said, balance that faith. But right now, we've got to have that faith. We have to have the faith and realize that greater that is in He that is in us than he that is in the world. And we don't have to look to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, to Donald Trump and his bullshit-ass $1,200 stimulus check that's not going to cover much of anything for our salvation. So I think absolutely right now we need our faith more than ever, because we're fighting a virus that we can't see, and it's going to take someone we can't see to fix it, and that's the Most High.
Let me ask you this. A lot of times when I have these conversations, and, I grew up black in America, so I know the struggles. I grew up in Oakland, California. I grew up on a stint on public assistance. My mother, a single mother, 3 kids, was able to work and work her way off of that public assistance. I'm the youngest of 3, and I'm probably the least talented. And I've been able to accomplish a whole lot. When I talk about these stories, and I want to empower a lot of folks who come from the same conditions, same environment, same circumstances, there's always resistance from people from other ethnic groups or other cultures. It's almost like they don't want to hear, they don't want to have, it's no empathy for it. And it's one country, so we all going to have to figure a way to respect each other, learn each other's stories, and allow folks to grow. How do you approach people who say things like, why am I hearing so much about Black power? What about everybody else? Why is this struggle needs to be separated? We're all the same.
Right.
What do you say to folks like that when we have these kind of conversations, it makes them uncomfortable to the point where they don't even want to hear your story? And how necessary is it to involve those kind of people in your journey?
That's a very powerful question as well. We've been cut off at the kneecaps, and they know that. We built this country, and we all suffer on some level from post-traumatic slavery syndrome. Therefore, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And we've been on their menu for so long with a buying power of over $1 trillion, which would make us, if you were to look at it this way, as one of the top 20 richest nations in the world. So we're really a nation within a nation. I'm not concerned with anybody who says that, of course, you guys need to stop talking about slavery. Just forget about it. You guys shouldn't focus on that. That's fine. Let's leave them over there and realize that if we as a people can come together, Kuju Chagwalia, self-determination, Ujima, collective work and responsibility, Ujamaa, cooperative economics. If we can come together, we don't need them. We can support one another and keep the dollars in our own community, because who we give our dollars to is who we give our power to. And I've discovered that black lives have never mattered to them, but black dollars do. So if we can start recycling black dollars, spending it with one another, stop being judgmental. Yes, I know that some of our businesses are subprime, as they would say. I get it. However, we need to be patient with our people. And many of us go out of business because we're not, receiving enough money from our own people, and we're underfunded as it is. So, again, I'm not at all involved or interested in my oppressors' acknowledgement. They know what they've done. I think it's cute and funny that all of a sudden they came up with a $2 trillion stimulus package but claimed they were too broke to pay reparations to the sons and daughters of Africa. So the money has always been there, but I'm tired of that argument. I don't want to beg. I don't want to ask. I want to do for self, and I think that's the key. Same thing with the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Independent Party, the Green Party. Until I see a black agenda, we're not invited to the party. So I'm not giving away my vote and I'm not telling anyone to go out and vote until I see that they have an agenda for our people as it relates to jobs, as it relates to education. And again, I don't even think it's just a black issue, because you have some people say, it's not a black issue. Okay, well, we're number one as it relates to when you look at the unemployment rate. Look at our skyrocketed unemployment rate. So it becomes an American issue. We just so happen to be black in America. So, when you look at all of the dysfunctional, I think, structural, institutionalized racism that we face daily, we've got to work this out internally in the family. We've done it before. Black Wall Street, the last name Freeman. We bought ourselves out of slavery. Many of you know the history. We can do it. We just have to stop. I'm more pained. We have to stop hating on each other. I'm more pained by the pain and what we give each other. How the way we tear each other down, the way even personally, I catch myself when I want to critique or criticize publicly, another brother or sister. I'd rather call them first and then go to social media and kick their ass if I have something to say, because I just think that we need to be a bit more patient, loving with one another. And I think that we can work ourselves out of the situation and not have to, wait on anybody's validation and or approval, or for them to understand our journey when they really only understand a page or maybe even a chapter in our life story and our journey.
We're going to take quick questions and quick answers, and I want you to follow him on social. Charles in Atlanta, what would you like to say?
Hey, Charles.
Hey, good morning. This is a very powerful show. Thank you, Sway, in the morning. Thank you. Dr. Gray, should say. I'm a private investigator over 20-something years. I'm very good at what I do, but it just hasn't translated into business success. Recently, I just thought, I want to share something instead of owning nothing. So I want to bring on a partner. Do you have any do's and don'ts that just come off the top of your head?
We're picking a partner. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good question. Well, I think the first thing is kudos, congratulations, brother. because that's the key to success. When I launched my food company, everyone marveled. Oh my God, how did you do over 1.5 million in sales? How did you flip the company? How were you able to create a student venture capital fund? You opened up an office on Wall Street. You were 13 years old. Yeah, I brought on the right people. I had individuals who had MBAs. The key that successful people understand is to hire people that are smarter than them, that are around them, and or if you hire a partner, your strengths and weaknesses become together, you become whole, you become one. So I think the main thing is identifying a partner that shores up everywhere where you believe that you're weak, whether it's the right brain, left brain, whether it's the creative side of the business, that whatever you bring to the table, they are able to add to that. And I think that's definitely the key to success. The other element is you got to share the same vision. I think vision is everything as it relates to where you see the organization going. And the other thing is be willing to give up a little something. My challenge has always been when you bring on a partner, especially with us, we're always arguing over who's going to own the majority of the company. Well, how much am I getting? Well, how much am I getting? Well, first of all, we ain't got nothing. So many of us will always argue over who's getting the lion's share of the pie, and we ain't even made the crust yet. So I think it's important to be fair-minded, find someone who shares the vision, and be willing to give up, as much as that person feels comfortable with when you weigh their assets that they're bringing to the table, whether it's sweat equity, whether they're coming in as an investor. Just weigh it and be fair-minded and find someone who shares the vision with you for where you want to go. And I think that would be the key to finding definitely a partner. And what it sounds like, you need a partner that is versed in marketing.
That is exactly what I have. And his energy that he's bringing to me was infectious, and I had to say yes. Okay. I will make our business cards.
Okay, Charles, I don't mean to be rude, but I want to get to one or two more callers. But definitely follow Dr. Gray on his social media. Can you give that out again?
Yes, sir. It's Farrah, Farrahgray, Farrahgray.
Doran in Florida, quick question, quick answer. Go for it.
Good morning, y'all. How y'all doing today?
Doing great.
Caller. I'm a corporate chef. I've been doing it for a little while. My thing is I want to start my own restaurant. But like you said, the thing is I'm a little scared. I have faith, but the thing is, sometimes, restaurants in the first year, sometimes they fail. So I have a partner, but the thing is, the money-wise, I know there's grants, I know there's loans, but the thing is, as a black male, sometimes I'm kind of nervous, of stepping out.
Right.
But like I say, I have a lot of faith. I attend church 3 times a week, Bible study, prayer meeting, everything. But the thing is, like I say, I'm just a little scared, and I don't know how to find investors, because like I say, I do a lot of stuff at home also. But, like I've been working in the corporate scene for a little while now. But it's like now I want to step out on my own.
What advice would you give him?
Powerful question. First thing I would say is I totally agree with you. I've owned a couple restaurants. I financed a restaurant for one of my brothers. Again, shout out to Chuck D and Flavor Flav, but it was specifically one of Flavor Flav's restaurant ideas. I had a restaurant on the Las Vegas Strip, myself and a group of investors. We opened up, I believe, don't quote me, I think it was the first black-owned restaurant. That didn't do too well on the Las Vegas Strip. So what I've learned, because I haven't been successful at everything I've done, I think you have to fail your way to success. So the first thing is I wouldn't look to open up a restaurant. I would look to set up a database, meaning I would start hitting of course, after this situation, when the festivals come back in, when the farmers markets are back in play, I would begin to build up a following and then create a demand for your cuisine. That way, when you open, you've got 10,000 loyal customers locally in that market that you can then invite. So I think that you need to open up by popular demand, where you're just overwhelmed by doing and hitting all the local festivals and events and concerts. So that way you develop the brand, get everyone's email address as well as cell phone number, because cell phone numbers have over a 98%, I believe, 98 to 99% open rate. So build that database. get the clientele up, and then smoothly transition into a restaurant, which then allows possibly for you to fund and finance your business yourself. I did an event years ago with Susie Orman, and I remember she said, people, get rid of, paraphrasing her, get rid of your credit card. And I said, well, for black folks, a lot of times the only thing, she said, get rid of unnecessary credit cards. I say get every credit card you can, because when we look at the old school legends like Robert Townsend, who was able to finance his career on his credit cards, I think it's very key to utilize your credit cards to launch your business, because, again, we do know that they're not handing out loans for the most part, no matter what your FICO score looks like, to people that don't look like them. So therefore, I would start off small and then build from there once I've created, a database of customers that are looking for the type of cuisine that I'm offering.
Doran, good luck with you. Also, Kevin, Chrissy in Georgia, Mike in Vegas, Michelle in Houston. Hit up Farrah Gray directly on his social. And I feel like this is the first of a series of conversations we should be having. And I want to thank you for coming on the show this morning and sharing all this information and sharing your journey. And I know there's people who are hearing this story, it don't matter what walk of life you come from, that will be able to relate to the success that you've had and the way you've been able to navigate in this society today, man. So big round of applause for the one and only.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Great. Absolutely, man. Man, it's so much more to talk about, but we'll get to it next time. And what's on the plate for you right now?
Well, I just did I'm also a clothing designer. I got tired of wearing other people's stuff. Actually, we'll be donating proceeds to charity. I just did with Peter Marco on Rodeo Drive. We did we broke a record, the world's most expensive jacket I designed with 460 carats of diamonds, $10 million jacket. So that was one piece. And I did that because I really wanted to send a message to the high-end designers that we as a people, we can do high-end, we can do luxury as well. I'm working on another book. I think this should be probably the 8th book. And again, I'm utilizing this time to be as creative as possible as well. So a lot coming. Stay tuned. And again, it's Farrah Gray, FarrahGray on all social media platforms. And thank you, family, for having me.
Absolutely. Farrah Gray, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your word.